All right, guys, so I have a challenge for you. I was talking to the bosses yesterday. I said, Brett, James, please let me go live for Saints vs. Titans week 1. I'm on my knees begging to go live with the Houdat Nation. And they said, if we can get 50 new subscribers, we'll make it happen. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out, and we will try to go live. So, guys, hit that sub button to lock us in. That way we can go live this week, and that way we can go ahead and beat the Titans in our sub battle for this week. We were behind them. We were starting off slow, and then all of a sudden, things started going well. Things started piling up and subs started adding up. And now the Saints Now by Chat Sports Channel is ahead of Titans today. So lock us in, subscribe today for more Saints news, rumors, and fun interactive content. All right, so for today's video, wanted to do something a little bit different. We're going to put out like a true preview video tomorrow or later this week. But for today's, I wanted to talk about 5 key matchups for the Saints vs. Titans week 1 game at Caesars Superdome. I think it's going to be a really fun one. I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting things to pay attention to. And I'm going to start off with DeAndre Hopkins versus the Saints DBs. So in my personal thoughts on this, I mean, there's no question about it. DeAndre Hopkins is a phenomenal football player. But the Saints DBs are loaded, they're talented, they're young, they're feisty, they're angry, they're scrappy. They're going to take your lunch money, they're going to give it to their girlfriend, they're going to go buy an ice cream sandwich with it because they're bullies. And DeAndre Hopkins, if you didn't know, if you've been living under a rock throughout this entire offseason, he did sign with the Tennessee Titans after requesting a trade from the Arizona Cardinals. Didn't happen. He was released, and now he's a Tennessee Titan. For the next 2 years, he's going to be making $26 million on that deal. Marshon Lattimore, he's your CB1. He's going to be obviously lined up with DeAndre Hopkins if he is healthy because he's been dealing with a knee injury. But some good news around him. He did return to practice on Monday. And in terms of production for the 2022 season, obviously we all know Hopkins, he did miss some time last season because of a PED suspension. But when he was able to perform in the back half of the season, 64 receptions, 717 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 11 2-point yards per catch. And in terms of what Hopkins was able to do against the Saints defense in that absolutely just abysmal nightmare of a Thursday night football game, I wish I could scrub this from my memory forever. But, kind of fun. It was our first watch party on the channel. Terrible first game. Great first watch party. Make sure you join this one. So in terms of this production for D-Hop, 10 for 14, 104 yards, no touchdowns, 10.3 yards per catch. And my take on it as a whole, I love D-Hop as a football player. There's no question about it. The former Clemson product is damn good at football. He is very, very talented. But you know who else is really talented? Number 23. I think the Saints defense has the upper hand here. I mean, Marshon Lattimore, just in terms of the production here, 29 tackles, 4 pass breakups, an interception. And he had that one interception, took it to the house against the future NFC champion and NFC champions in the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's just the production, but let's look at the coverage stats. He had 232 snaps, and these come in from PFF, so shout out to those nerds over there. Love the dorks putting these numbers together. Overall grade, he had a 64.7. The coverage grade was a 70.1. And the receiving percentage allowed was 54.8, which I really like these numbers. I'd like that overall and that coverage grade to jump up just a little bit. However, we all know that, he was missing time last year, so he wasn't able to go at it and be in every game. But here's one thing I want to point out. If Marshon Lattimore is healthy, I think this is going to be a really fun matchup. I think this is going to be 2 of the best going at it. I mean, you can sit here and say there's 100 other not 100, but you can sit here and say there's a bunch of other wide receivers better than DeAndre Hopkins. But D-Hop is still an absolutely dangerous weapon that the Saints defense has to take into account. And Marshon Lattimore, it's going to be up to you to lock him down. So if you want Laddie Daddy to lock down D-Hop, type 23 in the comment section. It's his jersey number if you didn't know. Get in the comments, spam it now. Let's get in D-Hop's head. Let's buy some rental property. Let's get some space in his head. Type 23. We're here for Marshon Lattimore to lock down DeAndre Hopkins in week 1. All right, so let's talk about another key matchup. And if you couldn't tell, it's clearly defense. These two against some, the big key players for the Cardinals offense, but we're going to talk about some offense here in just a second. So the defensive line versus Derrick Henry, it has to perform well. Derrick Henry, they call him the king for a reason. Just saying. He's not a bad football player. He's a damn good football player. He's going to run over you. He's going to stiff arm you. He's going to bully the hell out of you. But there's one guy that I think is going to absolutely feast in week 1. Wham, bam, thank you, Cam Jordan. I think that Cam Jordan is going to be a stud this week. I think that he knows that this is a big year. I think he's going to come out hot in week 1 for the Saints season. And on top of that, I think that the New Orleans Saints have a very talented defensive line with Carl Granderson, Peyton Turner, as a backup. You also have Colin Saunders, Nathan Shepard, Brian Brzee, and you got to take down this guy right here. And obviously the linebackers in Demario Davis, Pete Werner, Zach Bond, Jalen Smith, these are guys that I do believe need to step up here, but in the trenches, this is where the game will be won. You can see the production on your screen for Derrick Henry, and like I said earlier, they call him the king for a reason. And in my personal opinion, I think that the king, at some point, he's got to slow down. At some point in his career, Derrick Henry will start to decline. It has to happen, right? So let's be the beginning of the end. Let's make this season Derrick Henry's last okay season before he starts really filing off. I want the New Orleans Saints to set the tone this season. I want them to shut down Derrick Henry every single snap that they possibly can. I want them to limit him to as many as little production as possible, because that is going to allow your team to really, really feast. Make Ryan Tannehill beat you. He ain't that good. But you know who is really good? Micahel Thomas. And that's a matchup I want to watch out for, is Micahel Thomas versus Kristian Fulton. And I think in terms of the cornerback depth chart for the Titans, it could be a Roger McCreary. It could be a Kristian Fulton. It could be really any of those guys lined up against Micahel Thomas. It's just going to depend on who do they want to put on Chris Olave, realistically. But in terms of MT, he's looking to have a bounce-back season after only playing in 10 games since the 2019 season. He had the ankle injuries, had the toe injuries, had pretty much, if it's his right leg, waist down, it's been hurt. It feels like that's kind of been the case. And, that's not exactly accurate. But he's had a lot of injuries to deal with over the past few years. He missed the entire 2021 season due to that ankle injury, which really set things back. And then in terms of what's going on this year, Micahel Thomas, you can clearly see it. He's motivated. He's healthy. He knows that this season has a ton of pressure. There is such a different mindset around MT that we haven't seen in previous seasons, at least in the past couple, that we're seeing now. And on top of that, like this last point was, you got to make the most out of this season. It's a contract year. You have to perform well if you want to get paid and if you want to be around this next season. So Sean Murphy-Bunting, Kristian Fulton, those are your CB1, CB2. Roger McCreary, I think he's going to have to line up against MT if you see Mike line up in the slot, if you see him line up on the inside of the wide receiver room. I think that these three guys are going to have their hands full with him. And here's a recent quote from MT, and I really like what Mike had to say. He's talking about the focus for this season. He's talking about, I don't want the distractions. I'm focused here. I'm focused. He's like, I am more focused on, am I beating the man across from me? Am I dominating the man across from me? I'm trying to win every rep against the man across from me. So that's more what I'm focused on. And in terms of a Micahel Thomas bounce back, it all starts with chemistry with Derek Carr. If you can't develop that chemistry, if you can't develop that connection with DC4, this whole operation will not work. But we've seen Carr and Thomas work together a lot in the offseason. They've both spoke very highly of each other. A big reason why Micahel Thomas agreed to stay around, get the new contract and everything, was Derek Carr. You had a guy that is proven, he's a veteran, he's a leader, he knows how to win football games. And even when Derek Carr signed, Micahel Thomas started getting active on Twitter before that contract was even done. So, guys, we're going to keep going on. We're going to keep talking about some of this, but who you got? Type S for Saints for me, type T for Titans. I'm typing S for Saints about 150 times. I just know the Saints are going to win this game. And if they do lose, you know what? At least I won some money. because I'm going to be gambling on it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. You can go get geared up at chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code CHAT125 in order to take advantage of that deposit bonus. So basically what that means is you put $100 in, you get $125 back. So you have $225 of cheddar to lay down on the Saints, Tulane football, LSU football, whatever you want to do, but get started with our sports book. And here's some odds for week 1. The New Orleans Saints open up as 3-point favorites. Blake Groupie, I sure hope the game doesn't come down to you, but if it does, I know you got this. So let's hit that -3. Let's get everyone in the Who Dat Nation rich because we're all going to be betting on this game. So join me. Over-under is at a 41. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code CHAT125. All right, so another matchup that I think that we all should be watching out for is Dennis Allen versus Mike Vrabel. And here's the thing about Dennis Allen. The penalties have been a massive problem. The accountability, I will give him credit where it's due. He's grown as a leader for the Saints. The energy around the team feels very similar to what it was when Drew Brees was around. It feels like this team finally has a direction and a path, so it's up to Dennis Allen to stay on that path. And for the top matchups, I mean, like I said, Mike Vrabel is a smart coach. You have Dennis Allen, who's entering his second season. He went 7-10 last year. Not very good. But if you have another bad year, you could face the hot seat for DA. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if after this season, if the team is bad, we start talking about, hey, who's going to replace Dennis Allen? Because it's just you got to jump ship early if it's going to be this constant problem, over the next couple seasons. If the same problems are here in this season as they were last season, I think it's going to be very detrimental to the team. But Mike Vrabel, genius of a head coach. He's, in my opinion, a top 5 head coach. He's never had an incredible roster, but he manages to still win games and still find himself at a very high, putting out football at a very high level. And you can't put stupid mistakes out there. You cannot continue to not have good play calling. You cannot continue to let penalties be a problem. Mike Vrabel will capitalize on those mistakes. And here's a checklist of things if you do all these 3 things, you're probably going to be good. Because Mike Vrabel, he's a better head coach than Dennis Allen. You can't argue against that. He just frickin' is. So stupid penalties. The Saints had over 230 frickin' yards in 3 games during the preseason. Are you kidding me? So here, what I will say is, in that last preseason game, he only had like 15 yards in penalties. So that's not bad. You cleaned it up. But week 2, it was like over 120-something yards. I mean, it was atrocious. It was ugly. It was uglier than my ex-girlfriend, man. That was terrible. But another thing that you need to do is have some smart play calling. You got to find open space. If the run is there, take advantage of it. If it's not, don't force it. You have Jamaal Williams, who has been able to do some pass catching. He's been working on that ability. Get him the ball on a screen. Get him the ball in open space. Throw the ball to the outside. Stretch the field. Use the entire perimeter. And do not let up. Because if you do let up, the Titans, their defensive line is stellar. Last year, they allowed the least amount of rushing yards in the entire NFL, averaging just 76.9 yards per game. So if the Saints don't let up, if the Saints just keep it moving and just keep playing stagnant, they will not win. And in terms of the last point, you got to have fun. Be the New Orleans Saints. Get out there, start dancing, get loosey-goosey, start dapping up the team, celebrate as a squad, and get this dub in your hometown. Protect the home turf, protect your stadium, and start off this new era in the right way. And that new era is the Derrick Carr era. You didn't think we were going to go a whole video without talking DC4. Come on now. Come on now. But the last matchup is Derrick Carr versus those frickin' critics who don't know ball. Everyone out there who's sitting here saying the Saints aren't going to be a good team. Everyone out here is saying that the Saints don't have a good roster. They don't have a good quarterback. Their running back situation's weird. Wide receivers outside of Chris Olave, terrible. I'm so tired of hearing the disrespect. It is booming how loud the disrespect is. But I'll tell you right now, I firmly do believe this, and I'm willing to, make a bad take if it is a bad take. DC4 is going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. Whether that's a lot of other teams that wanted or needed a quarterback this offseason that didn't go and get him, whether it's major media outlets who continue just to dog him, not show him any love, tear him down, whether it's Raider Nation who hates that he's gone, whether it's my guy Mitchell Renz, I don't give a damn. He's going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. I think he's going to prove a lot of Saints fans right. So, guys, get in the comment section and predict the score for me. Saints versus Titans, week 1. I want to hear from you. And if you guys had any questions, if you guys have any thoughts, or if I missed anything in this video, hit me up on Twitter because I'm trying to grow my social media presence. I'm trying to become one of the bigger names on social media around the New Orleans Saints. At Trace Gerard 48, that link will be available in the comment section and in the description just to make it easy for you. But as always, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Can't wait for game day. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.